Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, we're from group 5 and this video we present about translation procedure. Okay, let me introduce ourselves. My name is Dinda Sholehah and my name friend is Syifa Mahmudah and Arif Setiawan. Okay guys, let's watch presentation of our material.
A. Definition of translation procedure. According to KBBI, procedure are a stage of activity for completing an activity. As for what is meant by translation procedure is the activity step to the complete translation. The difference between method and procedure lies in the unit state application. Method of translation with regard to the entire text, whereas the translation procedure applies to a sentence and unit smaller language, such as clause, phrase, word, and other. Next, transposition. Transposition is something that unavoidable in translation. It is effort to transfer the meaning from one language SL text to another text being the aim of the universally is known as practice of translation. Another opinion about transposition is termed by Carford as a shift is translation procedure, involving a change in the grammar from source language to target language. Newmark states transposition is a procedure of translation in which a change in the grammar from SL to TL, source language to transfer language, or to target language. There are 4 types of transposition. 1. The first type is the change of transposition could be singular to plural. Example, a pair of scissors. Translate to bahasa in sebuah gunting. Number 2. The second type occurs when an source language grammatical structure is not available on target language. The act of placing object in the foreground in Indonesia does not appear in English grammatical structure. Example, kertas itu boleh dipotong. Translate to English, you might cut the paper. Number 3. The third is the one-word literal translation grammatically possible but might not occur with natural object in the target language. Example, in English, noun or noun phrase become verbal in bahasa Indonesia. For example, to train intellectual men for the pursuit of an intellectual life translate into Indonesia. Untuk melatih pada intelektual untuk mengejar kehidupan intelektual. Actually, the word pursuit in Indonesia literal translation is pengejaran, but is a natural usage or formal into target language, so it becomes mengejar. Last, take place in the replacement of a lexical gap by a grammatical structure. Example, the scenery is beautiful. Translate into English become pemandangan yang sangat indah.
Modulation. Vinay and Davenit define that modulation as variation through a change of viewpoint, perspective, and category of thought. Modulation as referring to the changing of means. For example, I broke my leg. Kakiku patah. Sentence I broke my leg, if translate word by word to Indonesia, will be saya mematahkan kaki saya. But the right translate as kakiku patah because of changing of viewpoints, so it's changing meaning. The shift in meaning is divided into 2, namely compulsory modulation and free modulation. The first, modulation is mandatory if a sentence, word, or phrase has no equivalent in translate, so it needs to be raised. The second is free modulation is a translation procedure that is carried out for non-linguistic reason. For example, to clarify meaning, create a linkage of meaning, look for equivalent that feel natural, and so on. Menurut Vinay and Davenit, definisi bahwa modulasi adalah variasi melalui perubahan sudut pandang, perspektif, dan kategori pemikiran. Contohnya, kalimat I broke my leg artinya kakiku patah. Sebenarnya, kalimat I broke my leg jika diterjemahkan kata demi kata ke dalam bahasa Indonesia artinya saya mematahkan kaki saya. Tetapi terjemahan yang benar menjadi kakiku patah. dikarenakan perubahan sudut pandang akan merubah makna. The next is naturalized borrowing. The definition of naturalized borrowing different from pure borrowing. In this naturalized borrowing technique takes word from the target language, but by adjusting the sound, writing, or pronunciation of word from the target language. For example, the word group. In English, the word group has 5 words, namely G, R, O, U, P. Well, this word was then taken in use as Indonesian by changing the writing of the word group. So in Indonesia, it is enough to write it using 4 letters, namely group, with using the same meaning, G, R, U, P. In this case, naturalized borrowing in this example sentence and to create the impression that the word in the search language look more natural in the target language. Oke, jadi peminjaman yang dinaturalisasikan berbeda dengan peminjaman murni. Teknik peminjaman yang dinaturalisasikan ini mengambil kata-kata dari bahasa sasaran, tetapi dengan menyesuaikan bunyi, tulisan, atau pengucapan kata-kata dari bahasa sasaran. Misalnya kata group. Dalam bahasa Inggris, kata group memiliki 5 kata. Nah, kemudian diambil dan digunakan sebagai bahasa Indonesia dengan mengubah penulisan kelompok kata tersebut. Jadi dalam bahasa Indonesia cukup ditulis dengan menggunakan 4 huruf, yaitu G, R, U, P. Tetapi artinya sama. Nah, dalam hal ini peminjaman yang dinaturalisasikan bertujuan untuk menimbulkan kesan bahwa kata dalam bahasa sumber terlihat lebih natural dalam bahasa sasaran. Okay.
Well, the next material is contextual conditioning. The translator provides special words to explain word that is considered foreign, for example, by perspective. Target language readers so that the word is easy to understand. Contextual conditioning is the placement of information on the context in order to become the meaning become expression in target language. It's mean contextual conditioning in order to make the meaning clear to the target language. For example, search language, the Mustang was the fast in the race, and the target language, Mustang itu adalah yang tercepat dalam pacuan. Regarding the context of the Mustang is a kind of horse. This expression is relating to the ST or TT culture. The expression selamat malam in Indonesia it can be translated into English as good night or good evening. It is depending on the context. When in the beginning of meeting use good evening, but in the last of the meeting use good night. Jadi pada contextual conditioning adalah penempatan suatu informasi yang sesuai dengan konteksnya. Maksudnya seperti apa? Maksudnya adalah ketika kita mengucapkan suatu informasi seperti good evening, pastinya kita mengucapkan itu di waktu malam. Jadi contextual conditioning ini adalah informasi yang diberikan sesuai dengan konteksnya. Seperti itu. Well, the last material is nuts. Nuts appear in the translation as the additional information, especially for the culture words. This procedure will make the readers clearly understand with additional information about the translate words. Example, the word double is given a nut by the translator in the bottom of page. Pakaian pria berupa jaket pendek, pas badan berlapis bantalan. The use of translation procedures is mostly depends on the search target and title condition. Some procedures can be combined in one translation. Translation procedures are needed especially to make the reader more understand or easily understand the text, which the ideas are from the foreign cultures can be introduced in the target culture by the translator if the translator is the carrier. Translation procedures are the carriage of the language and culture. Untuk procedural notes merupakan additional information in a translation. Notes merupakan informasi tambahan pada penerjemahan, dalam penerjemahan. Semisal dalam kata atau kalimat, kita membuat suatu kalimat itu Syifa menyukai makanan tradisional Indonesia itu gado-gado. Nah, dalam kalimat itu ditulisnya gado-gado, tetapi setelah itu kita beri tambahan catatan atau catatan kaki, kita jelaskan bahwa gado-gado merupakan makanan tradisional Indonesia. Jadi seperti itu, sudah jelas. Notes itu merupakan informasi tambahan dalam penerjemahan.
Thank you very much for your attention and sorry for our mistake. The last, Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.